Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic and the Magical Coffee Hour. I'm Drake. Tonight we're going to be taking some questions from everybody. We actually got a pretty cool one in here already, which I'm looking forward to getting to, and I will. I want to remind everyone we do have a locals community. Immortal there has dropped links to it as well as our Rumble and our online magic school. Make sure you check those out and do follow us on Rumble, especially coming up in the new year. We're going to have some content that's going to be Rumble only. And you may actually see some of that content starting before the new year as well, just depending on how much time I have with the holiday schedule. So we will see what we can do there. But check us out on Locals for sure, because over on Locals we do have posts, and it's the best place to support us should you choose. With ad in social media revenue being what it is and stuff, it's getting harder and harder to keep things afloat. So point blank, if you actually care about the work we do and you want us to be able to keep doing it, consider supporting us over at Locals, and your support does get you access to free workshops, classes, and stuff that we do over there, including right now at this moment we're rolling out a Norse Magic pathworking and a Summer Fae pathworking that is accessible to supporters only. Eventually, the fine-tuned and streamlined and polished ones will be available at the online school. But for now, the content is for supporters only over there. Just something, one of the nice little perks of being a supporter. We also do spell work once a week for any super chats or donations through the live streams or anything like that of $5 or more. And supporters get a monthly spell working as part of their support. So there we go. Got the business out of the way. But if you are here, do give us a thumbs up. It helps a lot with that pesky algorithm monster, so more people can find the channel and the information we're sharing about self-mastery, self-empowerment, and all those wonderful good things. Right? Cool. So, hello everyone. Glad you can make it. We are live here on YouTube and Rumble tonight. So hello, wherever you're watching us from. I see we got several people watching at all locations. I'm hoping this is showing me the, yeah, that should be showing me the live chat for Rumble, I believe. I'm going to click here just to, yeah, okay. That does seem to be working. Cool. All right. Me and technology, we fight from time to time. Immortal, good to see you, and thank you for the links, by the way, mate. Appreciate the getting on top of that for me. Eden Bull, good to see you. Aylin, welcome. Matthias, good to see you. Kenny, welcome. And Immortal is, yes, being a supporter is only $10 a month, and you get access to the classes, the path workings, all that stuff. And even when we do the workshops, there's replays for the workshop. So if you can't attend the workshop live, you can still get access to it, which is kind of cool. All right. So the first question we had, and this was in here before I got here, comes from David Rivera, I believe. He asked, is it possible to contact the entity Santa Claus? I was thinking about that, and if it would be possible to create with the mind of a lot of people. That is a fantastic question. I actually do like this question. And there's a few different thought processes to this. First off, the entity today that we know as Santa Claus is actually an amalgamation of a lot of entities. So Santa Claus is almost like the representation or even possibly a sigil embodiment in a character. A good chunk of the Santa Claus we know is actually entirely commercial, at least in the imagery of it, from Coca-Cola. And of course, we got the Night Before Christmas story that gives some of the descriptions of Santa, including that's like, I think, the very first appearance of his reindeer. Beyond that, throughout history, there's a lot of different entities that share these roles that definitely overlap quite a bit. historically speaking, the most famous of these is actually Saint Nicholas. And for those history junkies out there, Josh Gates of Expedition Unknown recently, like 2-3 weeks ago, did an episode focused strictly on Saint Nicholas and potentially where Saint Nicholas is laid to rest and all those. It was a really cool thing. I found it fascinating. But so Saint Nicholas is definitely probably the most popular, most well-known worldwide historical figure tied to Santa Claus. And of course, saints are very much almost put into a quasi divine position by a lot of different practitioners and practices because you can pray to a saint, right? Then you also have connections to, for example, Odin. Odin has some connections to Santa Claus. That's actually, though I've not really found any of it in the direct edits or anything, there's plenty of writings that point to similarities and whatnot. And I get that. I've not been able to trace its origins down, how far back, where does it start, those kinds of things. Because there are definitely people within the Norse and pagan community that make the claim that the connection to Santa and Odin only came from pagans trying to make this figure more of their belief. You can debate that all you want. I really don't care. Because at the end of the day, Santa is an amalgamation of all the beliefs and everything. And when we look at Santa, you're definitely looking at someone who doesn't give a rat's ass about where you come from. He doesn't care about your ancestors. He doesn't care about your skin color. He doesn't care about your gender, your sexuality. He doesn't care about your job. He doesn't care about any of that horse shit that we try to get in a dick measuring contest with everyone else about. In fact, the reason I left religion is because of the religious pissing contest that just seems to be there. In fact, for those people doing it, you are the reason I stopped going to anything pagan. That being said, however, he is the amalgamation of essentially everything that would be great, that, goodwill toward people, that joy, that happiness, that giving, that reward. But you also got to understand that that is also coming with a criteria, right? Because the good boys and girls are rewarded, the bad ones not so much. And that's, another thing, because when we look into Germanic folklore, for example, not only are they not rewarded, but you have Krampus. So Krampus actually punishes the naughty children. And there's different tellings on how he does that. Chloe, if I'm reading that right, Chloe, welcome. I see your comment over here on Rumble. Glad you can make it. Just started Dragon Magic 101 a week ago. Loving it. What happened to Dragon 102? I didn't see it on Teachable anymore. Pretty sure it was there when I was signing up for 101. Hello, all. We had to downgrade the school. That's one of the things I was talking about earlier. We did have to downgrade it so that I can only have 5 courses up at a time. Dragon Magic 102, I thought was up there still. It should be up there. If it's not, I will double check that for you. Dragon Magic 101 and 102 should be one of the 5 courses up there, but it might be, it might have rotated out for one of the other courses. Just refresh and go back in there. And if it's not there, I try to remind me by the end of this. I'll try to double check and remind myself even to double check that before I leave the office this evening. Sorry about that. So we would be dealing with that amalgamation. Now, could you contact that entity? Theoretically, yes, because there are so many different entities that actually are related to Santa Claus. You could contact the entities that make up that entity. Now, the problem is if you're blindly just reaching out to any of them, you could literally end up with any of them. You could. Now, at this point in time, there is definitely enough belief in Santa Claus that is there an egregore out there? Yes, there's already an egregore out there, quite literally an egregore out there. And you could contact that egregore. Um, could you get enough people together to create one that would out do better than the currently existing egregore? That would be the trickier part, and probably not, because the current egregore that already exists is based on millions, if not billions and billions of people's belief, genuine belief, and perfect belief, because we're talking about the belief of a child. But it don't even stop there, because there's plenty of adults who carry that forward and truly believe in that. Okay. Sorry, something distracted me. Something popped up, said do better. I don't get it. Do better what? I don't get it, Pixie. Anyway, it's carried forward not just in the ideal of Santa Claus coming down my chimney and bringing me gifts, but you got plenty of people who carry that ideal of what he represents forward and actually try to embody it during the holiday season. I know so many people who do this. I've met so many wonderful people over the years because, truth be told, I kind of embody the Grinch most of my life when it came to Santa. And whether it was James at Walmart or some other old timer, James is the one that's popping to mind right now, who would, they just embodied it not only during the holiday season, but they'd also embody it throughout the year. You know what I mean? Um, so you got plenty of entities out there that correlate to it. And I can't sit here and list off every single entity. So, but I know in my research, I hit 50 plus before I was like, okay, yeah. And this question popped up before. I mean, we were setting up, so I didn't have time to pull journal notes, but that egregore is still going to be pulling on that belief, even when it's being carried forward. Even if the adult per se doesn't believe in Santa, they believe in the ideal. Believing in the ideal feeds into that egregore. So, could you actually create? Could a group of people today create one better than the existing one? Probably not, just because of the sheer power, faith, and solidity over generations that that thing already has. Um, but you could reach out and contact it. You do need to make sure you're using the imagery for the egregore, which is honestly, it's become classic modern Santa lore. So use that stuff, and you should be able to contact it pretty easily, honestly. I have done a thing before in the past where um, I've worked with a couple of young kids um, to contact Santa. In fact, if you think about it, the old tradition of writing a letter to Santa is actually a great place to get started into contacting Santa. And that is actually the method I used for them. So we were able to tie that in and weave that together. And all the little ones in this particular exercise all had dreams that I got pelted with. In case y'all don't know, I love kids. I'm protective of them, but I'm not. And people say I'm good with them, but I'm like awkward as hell around kids. Like I'd really rather not be around them. I don't, it's, I'm always afraid they're going to get hurt or something. I view myself as a big old klutz. So at the same time, I did this little thing and now they're all, having these dreams and everything. And, it was really cool because like I was expecting them to start pelting me with, oh, Santa said I'm getting this for Christmas or I'm getting this, to be that very, what toys are you getting for Christmas? Like you would expect from a child. Instead, no, they're getting wisdoms, they're getting insights that Santa is giving them. And they're sharing these with me. And I mean, like, these are like above the bar insights that I know adults who can't get this wisdom when it comes to the holidays. And these kids are like, Santa said this, and I should look at this, and I should help my community here. It's like, holy shit, you're that's amazing. Um, and I know at least two of them I was able to keep track of for about 3 years, and they totally took those ideals and ran with them. And I wish to some extent I could get in contact with them today and find out if that's still running. But that is definitely, like, I have no doubts that that did work, and that what those wisdoms and insights they were getting was coming through the same way as if I was to contact Odin or Freya or any of those insights that we would get for working with those. So yes, I do actually think it is very possible to do. And I do, some people will say it's not an egregore, it's actually an entity of its own that has taken the position, and or it's all those entities responding, and any and all those are probables. I think that when we reach out to Santa Claus, it is most likely to be the egregore, because um, working with Odin and his aspects through winter and the holidays and Yule and all those things, it felt very, very different than any time I have reached out to Santa, if that makes some sense. I'm going to scoot up here because I'm see. Um, you said the group would make a Santa that could do better. Curious what you meant by that. I said that. Oh, we had a question about potentially creating an egregore as the first question, creating a egregore of Santa Claus. I don't know that if you were to create one, would it be better than the currently existing egregore is what I meant. And I would say probably not. Um, that's what I meant there. Um, I'm gonna have to work on my setup. I'm gonna have to get my computer so I can read easier. Because right now I got one here and one here, so I can see both chats, but I do have to kind of lean in a bit. But that would be my answer to that. Immortal, I still have 102. No, 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 no. He's asking if it's on the sell page, not like have it. Like everybody enrolled in it still has it. It's just, is it on the sell page to purchase? Was the question about 102, Immortal. If it's off from the sell page, people can't purchase it, but everyone already that has it will still have it. Period. You'll still have access to it. So that does not affect anyone who's purchased it. It'll just affect what we can have up for sale. That's all it affects. Um, Thank you. Yeah, Eden's got it. Purchase one, remain there forever. Right. See, black. Is that black liquid? I'm going to go with black liquid. That's what we're going to call it. Do you know of a small child-sized entity that has two boar tusks in his left eye? Okay, in his left eye. That's very specific. Um, that one's not ringing a bell right off. I'll admit that one's not. Do I know a small childlike entity with tusks? Yeah, I can think of quite a few of them. Whether it be goblins or imp style entities, several different fae. That description would actually fit a few red cap I've encountered. The eye one, I have seen an entity with tusks in its eye. I honestly can't remember if it was left or right. I'll be honest with you. So I don't know if the actual eye makes a difference. It was in the Fey realms, is the one where I saw it. And everyone going about didn't treat it like anything was different or off. So I have seen a Fey creature, particularly in the dark Fey regions that resembles what you're describing. Have I worked with it? No, I have not worked with it. Though it wasn't exactly what I would call a popular particular feller at that point in time, for whatever reason that may be. Kuan Yin, welcome. Glad you can make it. But let me make sure I get your name right. David, that was a great question. That really was. That Santa question. That was a good one. That was a good question. In fact, that might actually be an interesting video to do something on, is Santa and his many facets. Though, if you are interested in the lore, seriously, go check out that episode of Expedition. I thought that was so cool. I'm actually wanting to do a second watch of it myself. But I'm a huge history lore junkie. That's just what I do. I love to learn. So Matthias, I love your roundtable on Krampus. That was a fun one. That was a really fun one. That was. I have always enjoyed Krampus lore. I think honestly, Krampus gets a bad shake a time or two. People think of him as the evil Santa. That's not really necessarily what he is. I don't believe him, like, when you look at the festival and everything, yes, he's definitely scary, but from talking to a lot of my friends from Germany and stuff, it's not evil. It's more of one's the reward, one's the punishment, and punishment for that which you have done isn't evil. That's actually, we have a word for that in society. It's called justice. Now, granted, when we look at the horror movies and the kidnapping and the beatings and that's one thing. But a lot of the legends don't necessarily mash up with the horror movies, and sadly, a lot of people's viewpoints are strictly based off the horror movies or pop culture, and it doesn't seem to jive. I've actually, I'm wanting to dive more into the Krampus festival and stuff, and I'm gonna lie, I've considered, like, instead of celebrating the holidays here, like seeing if me and the wife could bail and head to Germany to actually attend the festival. Um, um, I know they actually celebrate the first time you truly scare a kid if you're in the Krampus costumes and stuff, which I'm not gonna lie, as much as I'm protective of kids, y'all know my opinion on Halloween, so I got no problem scaring a kid. But I'd be going for tears and screams, I'll be honest. But Krampus is just a fascinating figure to me. That's what I want to do more on, for sure. See, we got something popping up here over on Rumble. So, would elves from Norse mythology be ancestors? No, no. The elves from Norse mythology would actually fall under the Landwites or Landavinten. I'm not saying that right. We'll go with Landwites because I'm not going to be able to pronounce that one word right. They would not be ancestors because they don't have a human origin. They don't. We wouldn't share an origin with them. Um, their ancestry, weirdly, so working with the elves in Norse mythology, as well as the Fae, I had this weird thing because I did notice a variation with the elves in the Fae realms and the elves in Norse mythology, but similarities. And one of the things that I came across that I thought was pretty cool is they actually have moved from the Fae realms into that kind of cosmology world, realm, which would be Alfenheim, I believe. And they've actually been away from the Fey realm for so long that though they still have a good chunk of their Fey heritage, they're no longer bound by Fey law. They've actually gone long enough generationally that they're no longer tied into the Fey law specifically. So they're still Fey, but they're actually just kind of outside that normal Fey working, which is kind of cool. It's something where I'm wanting to do more research on them, but they would not be our ancestors directly put. Um, but at the same time, would we have a would it be metaphysical? I'm trying to think of the word for it. Would we have a connection to them? To some extent, like if you're following the Norse path, for sure you're going to have a connection to them because though they might not be an ancestor, they're still part of that path, right? And so just like working with any other entity in there, they are a part of that path, part of that spirituality, part of that magical current. And if the Vitki dives in and submerses themselves into this concept, um, just like you become a creature of the ocean if you're swimming in the ocean, it's kind of the same thing. So there is that connection there, but it wouldn't technically be their ancestor per se, if that makes sense. um but I absolutely adore working with them, I really do. um let's see. Let's I think I want. I don't think I'd want to be unpopular in the Fey realms. No, not a good place to be unpopular. Not a good place to be unpopular. It's definitely not a popularity contest over there, but yeah, I agree. I would want friends over there. Um, Speaking of Fey, what can you tell us about the Fey pathworking is going for Born? Well, technically speaking, when we talk about the Summer Fae pathworking, he, for those who are supporters, you've seen the videos. We've talked about the items you might need for it. We talked about the actual rules you are going to have to follow to do the pathworking. And we're about to sit down here in the next week or so. You should be getting the actual rituals to get started with. Bourne himself hasn't started the Summer Fae pathworking. Um, He is currently doing a quasi simplified version of a winter Fey pathworking. I don't know I'm allowed to share any of that, though he will actually be doing the actual winter Fey pathworking that will be shared with everyone as well, unless he changes his mind. He does have the liberty to change his mind on that. But as far as the summer Fey pathworking and the notations and everything, he's both nervous and excited. It's the best way to put it. He's really looking forward to diving in and doing it and see what he can learn. But at the same time, he's coming off of this other one that he knows was a little bit more flexible and a little less strict. And this is going to be a lot stricter on him. Um, so he has that excitement and that nervousness because it's like I'm coming off of one, going straight into the other one. And if he does decide to do the winter one, and if he does it, let's say 2025 winter, that means he's going to come off one, into one, into one. So that's like a year and a half of just dealing with the Fae in one's life, which I'll be honest, that can be a headache. But I think he's doing well. I don't want to speak for him, but I personally, watching his growth and everything just during the kind of simplified one, it's been amazing to watch the growth in that man. It really is. And I am doubly excited to see the growth and changes that's going to come in the summer Fae pathworking. I really am. Um, so yeah. And then either later this week or sometime next week, we should start seeing the next rollout of the next. I want to say it'll be all the rituals should be in the next upload that we get because we got to make sure all the rituals and everything's in place before the winter solstice for all the people who are wanting to do for all the local supporters that are wanting to do the summer Fae pathworking. The early access to the pathworking is going to be over at locals, so that's where that's going to be at, and it's going to be cool. It's I'm really looking forward to it. Blank, is Saturn not an acronym of Satan? No, that I've never actually heard that. Saturn is tied to the planets named after Saturn, like the god Saturn, which is like Roman god, and that really didn't correlate with Satan. In fact, if you look biblically, like you do see Lucifer show up, and but Satan just means adversary. It's more of a title than an entity. It's one of those things, and it's like to Christians, they use the title as a name in a lot of ways because to a Christian, he is the adversary, right? But then just about any spirituality belief system out there has some version of the adversary. Um, so no, it's originally more to represent Saturn, the god, not Satan. It's just, I mean, we can't just assume just because two words are spelled the same that, you know, they're the same. I mean, Voltaire did an amazing song that actually points this out really well. It's Santa Claus is Satan. And, you know, I grew up in the church. I've heard and I've seen both the looser side of the church and the stricter side of the church. I've seen people who don't celebrate Christmas for so many reasons. And it's one of those things where if you want to try and spin it, if you want to try and make something fit and force it, you can force it. But it's one of those things where we don't have any actual relevance for that to stick. We really don't. Um, that'd be me like saying Saturday is Satan. Saturday is not Satan. Usually Saturday is a pretty good day for me. If I was going to give Satan a day, I'm going to say Mondays. I freaking hate Mondays. But that's just my 2 cents. Uh, or are you asking is Saturn Satan or not Satan, Santa? There are a few people who have postulated that potential probability. But at the same time, Saturnian spirits, you know, they differ in a lot of ways too. So again, you're like when you put up that chart of correspondences, different people will draw the correspondences drastically different. Um, I There are a few Saturnian stylized spirits or entities that people classify with Saturn that in some ways they have the joy, the jovialence, and the fun that you would expect from Santa. But I'm not sure they really line up too well. But then um, I've not gone uber deep into planetary magic in a long time. So there's also that. So I'm probably not the best one to go into the historics on the hows or why on that particular. Um, let's see. Alex 222 can't say. I'm going to have to turn this. I'm changing the name on this thing over here so we can avoid this problem. Joined locals last week. Good content. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. And we got more content coming over there. So I'm glad you joined us. That is going to become ground zero for this community, people. That way we can just, because I'll be honest, we did the math. If Working Dragon Mystic is to survive, it's going to be because of you all. If it sucks to be there, but the way that YouTube's monetization is fluctuating and the algorithm, it's just we're not getting the same that we used to get. And I'm not dissing on YouTube in any shape, form, or fashion. Let me be clear here. Anytime you sign up for something like that, it's a free platform. I get to go on there. They don't charge me nothing. And the fact that they're willing to share their ad dollars with me is actually pretty cool. But we may we're really going to become for us to continue where we're at and possibly move forward, we will have to consider variations, unfortunately. But I believe in our community. I do. Um, see, Aelin, Krampus as evil, not to mention that humans apply the values and moralities of their present time and place to spirits and entities who aren't human. Yep, they really do. Um, that is true. Humans place morality in different places, though there are certain concepts or ideals that have honestly pretty much prevailed throughout most of history as we know it. Not all, but some. And those are kind of the moralistic concepts that I like to look at more than any. Um, because yeah, things change and people get some stupid ideals. 'Cause there's a lot of things right now that people's like, you have to do this, or this is offensive, or this, and I'll be like, I don't give a shit. I really don't. I'm Gen X. I don't give a shit. Um, if anything I say hurt your feelings, I'm not sorry. I said it. I'll stand by it. Immortal, you would be a big Krampus. Could you imagine? Because I am 6'2" without my boots. So with my boots, I'm probably hitting 6'3", 6'3.5", maybe, depending on the heel of my boot. Then, if you were to put me in any kind of costume that was going to build me out into a Krampus and give me the horns, I'm going to be hitting 7.5 to 8 foot probably in one of those costumes. That is insane. That is insane. Um, I'd be burning up too. I really would. Like, I don't get cold easy, and those costumes look massively warm. And I know they're worn outside in freaking cold weather, but I just feel like I'd be that weirdo that's still going to burn up in that costume. That's just my thoughts. Uh, uh, but you know what? I might actually have to see if I can do a Krampus costume for next Christmas. I have to do it. My wife is already wherever she's at watching. She's shaking her head. Good God. Um, let's see. We got a question over here. What plans do you have for Working Dragon Mystic for 2025? That's a good question. One thing I'm hoping to do, whether it be over on Rumble or just on locals, I don't know. I mean, I am wanting to, if I can find the time sometime this month, I'm wanting to have a discussion or do a live stream on magical planning. We did a workshop at locals that was really successful. I'm wanting to hopefully be able to find time to do something about that before the new year, mainly because New Year's, right? As far as to what Working Dragon Mystic is going to be looking at in 2025. We do have a few things coming. First off, both me and Bornoldus are going to be joining forces to do a Rumble only podcast. We're looking at possibly doing it on Wednesdays. So you'll be able to catch us live on Wednesdays for this, where him and I is going to sit down and talk about research and topics and articles and anything magical and occulty that we can find. It'll be live so you guys can chime in on the conversation, whether it be UFOs, cryptids, our personal research, what we're working on. We're even actually considering borrowing anybody who's been a fan of the channel for a long time will remember on Fridays I used to do something called Research and Ramblings. We're kicking around the idea of using that title because we would be discussing our research and rambling about just topics. Him and I was wanting to make that possibly weekly or bi-weekly. I'm really looking forward to it. We're both of us have a lot of topics that we're wanting to talk about. I'm wanting to do a lot more of the mage-minded topics for the live streams, whether it be coffee hour or whatnot. I'm wanting to do a few more. I'm wanting to dive back into some of those because everyone's enjoyed those, and honestly, I had a lot of fun with them. So those are all things that we're going to be doing. Obviously, we're going to be finishing the rollout of the summer Fey pathworking, and then, of course, we're going to start rolling out the winter Fey pathworking over at locals as well. Um, and the Norse Magic is going to roll out. Now, once those are rolled out to locals and everything, hopefully in the next few months, I'll have time to do some reshoots because my thought process is once it's, we do the live stream, talk about the path working and everything for locals, that I can go back, take that, polish it, put it into the course, and put it over there for anyone who wants to um, purchase the course. And even for supporters, some of you may would rather have it purchased in a course where it's all clean and polished as opposed to the playlist that we have to use for locals. Um, Another thing that we do have that we're wanting to do is myself and a few of the admin are looking at doing a paranormal investigation together in Washington State. And if we can pull that off, we are actually going to be not only will we be doing the investigation, but we're actually going to be sharing the EVPs and the footage and stuff with the community. We're going to be discussing our experiences there. So it's actually going to be something that if we can do it, we're going to be sharing with the community because we all got to travel and fly out there. It's going to be a thing. So we all got to get out there and everything. And all of us are putting away a little cash so we can get the plane and everything like that and, fly out there because we're all in different states. We're just scattered everywhere. But those are all the things that are definitely on the to-do list at the top of my mind right now. So 2025 is shaping up to be busy, very, very busy. That said, I'm also hoping to start filming and have up. I would love to have Dragon Magic 103 up on the school next year, if I can. But with everything else we got going on, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But that's kind of what I'm hoping. Of course, in 2025, the Sword Door project that's taking place over at Locals, we're going to be rolling more of that out, some more of the details. We're going to be doing some lives on that. Many of you know that currently the public sanctum that is Sword Door has been opened up to even not just supporters only, but at least through, I want to say it's Christmas or January 1st, it's open to all locals members. You can go over there and click on it and find it. But we're wanting to do more with that as well. So we got a lot of things, a lot. One thing I want to do personally, since you asked, this is me very much personally. I'm hoping that sometime in 2025, I can start sharing my research on the Tree of Life and the Cliff Off through a dragon magic perspective and lens. That's something I've been researching a lot. And I'm looking at in the next week or so, getting my notes together and putting a case together to the rulers to say, hey, I want to start talking about this. I know this is something that is eventually going to be something I teach, hopefully into a full course because I've been getting some really cool results and I think it can do it. I just got to get there okay to share it, and that's something I personally really want. Of course, we're also going to be doing another 6-month challenge. So for those of you wondering, keep your eyes open. We are doing a 6-month challenge come January 1st, and we're actually going to restructure it a little differently. We are going to host it through locals, but we're also going to be doing some we're going to actually get together and talk about it. Like it may be part of like something me and Bourne talk about or me and Jade do, where we're going to come on live. We're going to talk about our progress, specifically the struggles we're dealing with. And if you want, you can come in and share yours as well. So things like that. But we definitely got a lot of those things coming. And we jumped. Oh. Where are we? Aylin, generational sensitivity issues. I'm the social justice activist that is staring in shock at the rest of the people on my side and going, "What the f? If only I could skill some sense into them." Yeah, yeah. People are going to do what they do. Like, I mean, people get offended. What that changes nothing. I would, I would hate to be so easily triggered, hurt, or anything by words. That gives other people power over me. That's the opposite of self mastery and self empowerment. So, if anyone can actually find an insult that makes me go, "Whoa," all you've done was show me an area that I can work on to strengthen myself. Um, I'm not going to tell you to shut up. I'm not going to try and take your speech away. That's ignorance. Um, see, Eden, I've been enjoying the notes since I started in late October. I believe I got 180 pages and then 35 days. Dang, that's pretty good. Um, Matthias, I'm looking forward to seeing how the Washington State investigation goes. I am too, because I'll be honest with you. Some of these people, I don't know if they've ever done an investigation. So part of this is also to see how we work as a team on investigations. Because if it goes well, I would want to do more. I actually want to get to where possibly we do one or two a year. And well, as the community grows and the supporters, like if Working Dragon Mystic grows and like let's say the locals, for example, let's say we was able to grow locals to the point where Working Dragon Mystic could fund it instead of us funding out of pocket ourselves. I would love to be able to do two or three of these investigations a year. I think that would be freaking amazing. Um, so yeah, I'm really wanting to see where it goes. Um, I've missed it. I really have. And my wife being military, we move around a lot. It's really hard to find a team you can trust. I really do think I got a pretty good team here out of the admin and the community, people that are interested. Um, they're people I don't have an issue being in a locked, haunted house with. So the question is, can the team function as a team once we're there? And I think for the most part we can. I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah. And for those interested in the 6-month challenge, it's usually the challenge is about bettering yourself through self mastery and self empowerment in some way, setting a goal for you from the first of the year to middle year. It can be occult, it can be fitness, it can be whatever. I'm not going to limit you, but set your goal, whatever it may be. And we as a community are going to work on that together and try to strive to achieve it. In the past, we tried to create a forum where people could post and talk about it here and there, and it got a little clanky. And then some people's like, post, I don't like the feeling of it. And that's why it's like, you know what? Let's do it in a stream. Let's actually talk about it regularly. Let's bring it up. Let's talk about it, whether it's during MCH or during the live stream that we're going to do on Rumble with me and Born. I think that would be pretty freaking cool because then you get that personal touch. You see that other people are going through it, their successes, their struggles, their ups and downs. I think it brings the human element that is needed quite a bit. Will the podcast be available on Spotify eventually? I do not know. I have to look into Spotify and see what it takes to get something there. So we are going to be doing. It's essentially I call it a podcast because I don't know what else the hell to call it. The way things are done these days, but it's going to be through Rumble only at this point in time. So you'll just watch us on Rumble. And I don't know if I can download it and upload it to Spotify. I've not really looked into Spotify. I opened a Spotify account at the beginning of the year to run an experiment. And it's an experiment about do they actually pay attention to what I listen to or watch? So I've been running all my music through, let's say, I think it's Amazon Music. And I put all very specific podcasts onto Spotify, just those podcasts. And I would listen to them through Spotify. And then at the end of the year, Spotify does this, hey, this is what you listen to thing. And I can just say that when they said, "Hey, this is what you listen to," they weren't nowheres on the same planet as me with my list. So I was like, "What the hey?" But that being said, I am interested in the concept, so I may look and see if we can do something about that. But I can't promise anything at this time, obviously. Um, let's see, Aylin Drake exactly. Let's see, Eden. There are some FAAFO moments in the last month recorded. Hey, you got to have those moments. You got to have those moments. Let's see. Would like to investigate the LBL. I suck with abbreviations, people. LBL. I'm not. It's not registering. Alex 222, what type of location are you going to in Washington? Well, considering it's an untested team, I don't want to drag them out into the woods or anything. But there's a supposedly haunted castle over there. It's called Manresa Castle. I know a lot of investigators have been in there before. I've been in a time or two with a different team. I'll be honest, when we were in there, we didn't catch much. I can't say anything, but we didn't catch much. It's a fantastic little place, though. And it's a great place to get a group in to see how they handle a lot of different challenges and work together with minimal risk of injury. We'll say minimal risk because I'll be honest, I've seen people do some stupid stuff. I've really have. So this is kind of a way to test the waters and see if they're going to listen, see if we're going to work good together to make sure, if something does touch someone's arm, they don't go running, screaming down the hallway and fall down a flight of stairs. You know what I mean? Little things like that. And so I'm keeping it simple and easy on them. Not to say that, there's investigators who have got some amazing results out of Manresa. I can't personally say one way or the other, but it's one of those places I'm wanting to go so that I can evaluate this group. Because I'll be honest, I would love to take them up into the Appalachians to do some cryptid hunting out in the Appalachia. But that would be irresponsible for a first run on a team. You know what I mean? Just not really a good idea. Plus, a few of them actually need to learn how to deal with themselves in the woods. I seriously wouldn't. I probably wouldn't trust them to mow my yard. A couple of them. So we need a little woodsmanship put on them before we do that. But other locations and stuff I'm wanting to do. So if any of you have heard of Manresa, it's a pretty popular place. So yeah. But then there's a lot of other places in a lot of those historical towns. In my research of Manresa, that's also popped up, and I've considered doing those too. So we'll see. But ultimately, I'd like to do. There's a few Navy battleships I'd love to get in on too. But again, those aren't as safe as Manresa, and I can already see for example, let's say Halloween was to go with us. She's not exactly the graceful type. So if she's going to panic or freak out or start running or something, and you put her on a naval battleship, that's just an accident waiting to happen. So I need to make sure they're not going to panic and do something stupid before I take them to locations like that. This is no insult to them. This is me giving a damn about them. Because until you're in that environment, you don't know how you're going to react. Like I have known so many, I wouldn't be so scared. That's just silly. And first time a door slams, that's the first person to squill and run. You know what I mean? You just don't know. And I'm not making fun of anyone who spooks, but I need to know what my team is going to do so I can make sure my team is safe. That's what I'm concerned with, safety. That's all. I may do it a little tongue in cheek, but I like to think my team actually understands I'm wanting them to be safe, and I hope they appreciate that. Oh, Land Between the Lakes. I love that place, man. I do. I love Land Between the Lakes. I really do. Land Between the Lakes, dude. We took a vacation out there, and we went through the Buffalo Reserve, and the idiot I was riding with decided to pull in with the gas light on and tell us after we're in, and you can't turn around, and the herd's crossing the road, and we're sitting there waiting on them. And I'm sitting here, we're going to run out of gas in the middle of a herd of buffalo, and I am going to have to take this scrawny little punk out of this car and whoop his ass because it will be his fault because he's an idiot that don't know how to check the gas tank. But absolutely gorgeous out there. It really is. Immortal, I can mow yards, sir. You're not the one I was thinking of, but good to know. Good to know, Immortal. Can you tie me a trucky hitch? Let's see. Bruce. Yo, what's up? I joined later. No problem, Bruce. Glad you can make it. Glad you can make it. That's the beautiful thing about replays. You can catch it all. Let's see, Eden. I've started fires with flint and steel before. It's super fun. Yeah, I actually got best time during the survival class for flint and steel. I'm proud of my flint and steel skills. Eden, safety is vital. It is indeed. Though I'm not a safety first kind of guy. Like I'm definitely kind of like I like Mike Roll's view. Safety third. I really do. But it is still paramount. You want the team to be safe and come out healthy and well. You really do. Let's see, Kenny, I'm very particular about who I take into the mountains. I don't blame you, mate. I don't blame you because they're not only a danger to themselves, they can be a danger to you. Absolutely, 100%. So, yeah, totally get that. So, yeah, that's why before we do, depending on what the investigation is, where it is, those kinds of things, before I take them up into the mountains, there's certain info they need to know, and I'm going to be drilling them on that. And if they don't want to learn it, they won't be going to that particular investigation. It's just kind of that simple. I'm an asshole to work for. I really am. Because it's like, here's my expectation. I will lay out my expectation clearly. It's like, this is what I need you to do. And if you say you're going to do it, cool. You better do it. Because if you don't, I'm really not. I'll get rid of you. I'll fire you. I'll remove you from the team, whatever you want to call it. I don't really put up with bullshit. And don't lie to me. Like, if you don't think you can do something, if you don't think you're going to be able to have the time to manage it, tell me. Don't just think I'm going to overlook it. I'm old school. If you tell me something, that's what I'm going to expect. So, let's see. No, we'll figure you out some tying stuff there, Immortal. Which actually, there's another thing. Immortal and Born and I, we've been kicking this concept around. Many people have been wondering, like, what do we think we're going to be up to for the 2025? The three of us have actually considered going out and doing a camp out and doing some long-term trance work or meditation. For those following the Norse course, you'd know that sitting out or Udisettva style meditations and ritual works. We've considered doing a kind of a guys' weekend for that. I mean, we'd take Jade with us if she wants. It might be cold. She don't like cold. Won't lie. I'm trying to figure out a way to do an outside investigation in like 20-degree weather just to see how Jade responds. But that's the mischievous mean side of me. But yeah, that's one of those things. And if we do that, I was kicking around the idea of potentially filming some of that. So we'll see how that goes too. So a lot of cool things that we got potentially coming up. Pixie Long, I work in an old house, which is currently a metaphysical shop, but not sure it's haunted all the time. Do you think such things secondarily haunted, seasonally haunted? Actually, that's actually an interesting question, because I actually do think there's a possibility of seasonal hauntings, and here's why. And this is one of those things that isn't talked about a lot in the metaphysical community and isn't talked a lot in the paranormal community. But when we talk about the planes and the multiverse, we know that these things aren't just necessarily separated, like one's over here and one's over here. We know that they're in motion, constant motion, and they often brush up against each other and move, pass through one another, and the likes. At least based within our theories of the multiverse as we understand it. We can't prove it, obviously, but that's the theories of how many of that functions. Now, part of that functionality would also be that all those things are essentially overlapping and existing and sharing space, right? On this channel, you've heard me say that if you open your arcane sight 100% fully, there's no place in existence where you're alone, because you're going to see thousands upon thousand things around you at all times. Just take a picture of Times Square on New Year's Eve pre-COVID, and everybody's just packed in like sardines throwing a party. That's kind of that's essentially what you would get, like, no matter where you're at, what ward you're behind, that's what you would see. For some people, that's just anxiety ridden, but that is the facts. Now, because of this, a lot of people have theorized that as that happens, you could have an entity that's walking across the Sahara Desert, for example, nothing around them. They don't see anything. They're not doing anything but walking point A to point B. Their realm and our realm, or their plane and our plane, kind of do this little thing. Just pass like two ships in the night. But they pass just enough that to them, they feel something hit their arm. They're turning around, what the hell was that? What grabbed my arm? There's nothing there. On our side, we just see a random object fall off a shelf, like something bumped it. And it's because the two came so close that moment, that split second, that instant was enough. They weren't trying to manifest or anything, but it was close enough that they interacted with that object. So here one moment, gone another. To us, we think something knocked the object off. To them, they think something grabbed them. It's just because the two things brushed up against each other, right? That is one of the theories. Now, I actually do think this is probably one of the leading or strongest theories when it comes to hauntings and how things don't occur regularly. At the same time, if you have a etherical shift or transition or motion of any kind that happens on a regular basis, whether it's every few years, every season, whatever it may be, if it's a repeatable, standard-ish cycle, that would definitely create what would appear to be a haunting on a seasonal-ish like manner. And I personally, from what I've learned of the planes and my work in the paranormal and my understanding of those current flows as best I can, I do think, yeah, seasonal hauntings are a very solid theory. I do. I really do. If that makes sense, I may have just like completely melted your all's ear, and you may be looking at me like I'm a dumbass. I don't know. But I do think it's actually very probable. Also, another thing that can cause seasonal hauntings is the energy, for example, or the ether. Because if you think about it, there are certain times of years when hauntings are more active. And I'm not talking about the veil thinning or anything. I'm talking about holidays, summer vacations, spring break. There's a lot of people in certain areas, especially tourist areas, whether it be, crap. I'm just Palm Beach, Florida, Virginia Beach, Virginia, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Any of these touristy spots where during tourist season people flood in. Well, that emotional energy floods in with them, and you oftentimes pick up a lot of hauntings and stuff or paranormal activity during this because there's a heightened energy. Same thing with the holidays. You go out during the holidays, there's just that heightened buzz of emotional energy. Just you can just freaking go into the grocery store, you can feel it. So there's no doubt in my mind that those emotional, energetic spikes would definitely feed into possible paranormal activity and spikes as well. And even if it's created by people, the people still responding to what we celebrate seasonally. Yes, we created the holiday, but still yet makes it seasonal. Pretty cool when you think about it. Um, oh yeah, that's another thing. We got to go over the rules of Appalachia with the team. That's for sure. I'll bet there's one team member I do worry about because I'm worried that they'll do something just because they're told not to, and they're like, "I'm going to be an EVP." And if I honestly get the feeling that they're going to pull that, I won't take them to the Appalachia. Period. Um, See, it does make sense. Most of the experience others who work with me or myself have, the entities act like we are not there. Yeah. So if it is an intelligent haunting, odds are it may be actually on a different plane, and that plane's just brushing through. They're not even aware you're there. Um, Otherwise, it could be a residual because residuals aren't aware we're there, but they're not intelligent. So, that's why I said if it's intelligent. So, yeah, very valid. Um, Matthias, trust me, I definitely understand that. Going into an investigation, especially in the woods, is something that has to be done responsibly. People that disregard that would be a liability. Yep. And I'm probably going to have people signing waivers because I ain't getting sued. It's like, I am not being punished because you're an idiot. Not happening. Let's see. Ada and I've lived around, been through plenty of places I would say are haunted. I've had to learn to manage fear around it. I like that theory. I mean, it's one of the few that actually fills in a lot of the holes and the whys and the what ifs. And that's kind of the thing. Like, does your theory or your potential model check all the boxes, right? And when you're looking at something scientifically, your model has to fit everything. You If you have to make a new model for every question, your model's not working, right? That's kind of the reason flat Earth is bullshit, right? Because they have to create a new model to answer any question practically every question. They need an entirely new model to answer the question, whereas if their model just had a, I don't know, a sphere and a sun out here, then like it actually is, then suddenly all the pieces fall together. um, but that's neither here nor there, I reckon. So yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like we got a busy 2025 coming up. I know Jade's actually going to be jumping in and doing some of the some things on Rumble with us as well. The reason a lot of these dual things are going to be on Rumble is at this point in time, YouTube does not offer me the ability to pull and drag somebody else in unless they're here at my house. So Rumble does that. YouTube, here's an idea. Why don't you get to work on that? Why don't you get to the point where I can bring in somebody else other than on my phone? Like, they added it to the freaking phone. I think my phone's in the living room. They added it to the freaking phone, but not the PC. I run my office off a PC because I got bratwurst hands. I can't operate that phone. Yeah, that's dumb, right? So YouTube, you're missing out on this content. Come on, chop chop, get to it. Get us a way to bring some people in. Rumble could do it. They're not as old as you. You should be able to do it. Come on, chop chop. Get. So if any of you wondering, that's why we're going to do that. But the perk to Rumble is also with the research and ramblings, it allows us to have conversations we can't have on YouTube. So that's a perk. So I'll take that. There are a few roundtable style conversations and whatnot we're wanting to have over at locals, especially supporter only conversations. Many of those dealing in areas and topics that you all have been flooding us with about stuff like incubuses, succubuses, sex magic, and stuff that, oh, yeah, tricky public conversations, period. And the roundtable discussion, like I was talking to everybody, it's just being able to have that in a controlled area for the community is one of those things where the people in the discussion would feel more comfortable. So we are looking to finally be able to try and answer some of these questions you guys have been throwing at us in 2025 through locals. So check us out over there. We're trying to do everything we can to reach as many as we can. That we're doing the best we can, people. And with that, I got clocks flying and I got dinner waiting. So I am going to get off here. You all have a fantastic week. I will see you all Friday. Yes, apologize about last week. I had to go to the Navy holiday thingy out of town. It was a lot of fun, though. Absolutely a lot of fun. So, yeah, you all take care, and I will see you all Friday. All right? Take care. Good night.